Oh, I love that. It never gets old. Oh, I love that. It never gets old. And so, uh, fellow vets, CMB, what's really cool, and again, what you don't necessarily see is in the background, we have kind of a countdown timer. It's almost like, you're about to go live, right? Like dun, 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 get you pumped up in the back. So that's pretty cool. Again, welcome, fellow vets. Anybody new here? Brian Reese, Air Force Service Disabled Veteran, founder of VA Claims Insider. Thank you for being here today. We're blessed to serve with you. This is such a crucial topic, and I'm excited and proud to announce fellow Air Force Service Disabled Veteran with me today, and a veteran coach, Chris CMB Borum.
Thanks. Let's see here. Anybody want to give a little quick shout out?
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll chime in here soon enough. Anyways, there we go. Hola, and welcome. Just real quick. Oh, I see you got Abram out there, the Army. Wait, 76 to 2007? Whoa!
What? Whoa!
Did I see that right? Let's see. I was born in 72, so holy smoke.
Everybody's calculating how old you are now, CMB.
I'm 48, just to keep it, 48 years old. Yeah.
You look young, man. You look great for 48.
Well, I think that's Puerto Rican genes have a lot to do with that. So,
No, we're very blessed, though, team, by the way, to have Chris with us. He is a natural leader. He's somebody that you want to follow. He's somebody that I believe really embodies our core values, which, he and I were raised in similar circles there in the U.S. Air Force of integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And he really still embodies those things now that he's a civilian, right? And so it's a way of life, right? It becomes a way of life. And it's no surprise that some of those same core values you see working throughout VA Claims Insider and in our culture, right? It's a part of who we are. Hey, Roger, thanks for your service. Hey, Charles. Again, for anybody who's new, though, we, as fellow veterans, fellow disabled veterans, CMB and I and our teammates, we want to recognize you in your service, okay? And not the cheap thank you, not the, oh, you served in the military, thank you for your service, right? That everybody feels like they have to say. This is real, right? Because we served alongside and with you as fellow brothers and sisters in arms. So, hey, Lucas, Boston, Mass, 100% Air Force Fire Department.
There you go.
Ben, hey, Ben, good to see you, man. Army, Vietnam vet, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
I had a call yesterday. Thank you, Joseph, for your service with an incredible Vietnam veteran named Scott Higgins. We were talking about the Vietnam Memorial, some of the stuff that they've done in New York City to recognize Vietnam vets. And look, we now recognize your service and sacrifice. Okay. And so thank you for your service, even though maybe at the time our country was very divided and didn't. Thank you for your service. Okay. Thank you for real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, John, Arkansas Army. Hey, Chris, Navy 84 to 87.
Good stuff. Welcome.
Hey, CMB. So for the Vietnam vets on the call, by the way, and I want to address this real fast. What we talked about with Scott, a fellow Vietnam vet, he was an Army officer. And when we were talking about the Vietnam War, he was really just sharing, obviously, how unpopular it was. I wasn't born at the time of the Vietnam War, so I've had to catch up and study military history. Yeah. And but it was such an interesting time in our country. Might kind of sound familiar. It's a little bit different now, but it's an interesting time in our country now.
Sure.
We're very divided, I think, right now as a country. And at the time of the Vietnam War, from everything I've studied and from talking to Scott, we were very divided, especially divided about the war. And what Scott shared with me, I wrote this down and it's now in the back of my brain. He really said, I felt a deep sense of responsibility as a Vietnam vet and an Army officer, and maybe somebody who could move our country forward, that we needed to, as a nation, separate the war and the warrior. Right? He actually said that on the call. He said, Brian, I went to this on a mission to talk about to our leaders and fellow Americans that there's a difference between the war and the warrior. Okay. You can be against the war or see something as unpopular, or we went in for the wrong reasons. Okay. But the warriors, whether you were drafted during that time or you volunteered, okay, those warriors are serving because they wanted to defend freedom. Okay. And they were sent to Vietnam, not necessarily that they wanted to go. They were
I was just going to say.
To serve, okay?
And
whether you even believed in the Vietnam War or not, because I'm sure that was plenty divided, even among those who were serving and those who went over there, okay? You do it for your brothers and your sisters and your left and your right and your front and your back, and you do it for your family and friends at home, and you do it for your country. Okay, even though it might be unpopular. And you know what, CMB? There's a lot of people who were against the Iraq War and might still be. There's a lot of people who were against the Afghan War and might still be.
I'll tell you, I was a recruiter from 2009 to 13, and every Wednesday, like clockwork, there are people protesting the campaigns. Yeah. So yeah, it still happens.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And just think of the mental toll, right? So you talk about that these folks who served in Vietnam not necessarily wanted to be there, or some did, but nonetheless, most were drafted, right, to go into that piece, or if they were already serving, they had to go anyway. But that mental toll that that happened during that period of time, and then moving fast forward to date, those that are still around, that stuff never left, right? So that in itself is very, very difficult and challenging. And so to be that person to help support you, not only listen to your story, but also empathize and sympathize with your situation, because back then there was no separation of war and warrior. No. you were just the bad guy who kills kids and people and so on and so forth. So that's who you were, but that wasn't you. No. But you had those obstacles. Unlike for us today, most people, that veteran awareness is so large that now not necessarily we have a lot more fans than we did back in the 70s. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, just we had just finished segregation in the 50s, right? It went to 20 years. So
I think too, Chris, you see what has happened too is service. U.S. military service is a very, very honorable profession, and it's recognized as one of the most elite, honorable professionals and professions by Americans. Well, you know what? It wasn't always that way. And I credit people like Scott and our warriors on today who served in Vietnam, who helped move the needle, right? I mean, they moved the ball down the field to say, this is not okay, right?
Right.
And we need to fix this for future generations, right? And so I think now, I know I feel this way, and I know you do too, and so do our teammates. We have a responsibility as a movement at VA Claims Insider to make sure that America doesn't forget. Okay, to make sure that our leaders, our elected members, recognize and continue to push veterans benefits, right? And that's the responsibility I think that we've got now as a community. Okay, so I want to transition, and thank you, CMB, for your comments, and you're a wealth of knowledge, man. I feel like I learn something from you every time we chat. I did ask him what his shirt was. It says legalize lifting, All right, which is really cool. And so, what we're talking about today, though, is a topic that is near and dear to my heart: the benefits of fitness for veterans, their families, and for your own mental health. So crucial. And so, I want to turn it over to you, though. There may be folks who don't know you. Can you share kind of your Air Force story and sort of what led you here so we can get to know you a little better?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. Appreciate the invite of coming on and being able to share my story with our many fans, no doubt. Oh, speaking of fans, before I dive into that, here's my infamous water jug. For my fans who know me, I've always got it, handy. Yes.
Never leaves my side. Here, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you two things. There's two things you will never see me without: water and chapstick.
See, there you go. Whatever works, and water also helps me as well. But so yes, Christopher Borum, Air Force retiree, has served from '96 to 2018. And probably would still be in, but my health took a turn for the worse. But anyways, back in, I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, what the heck is wrong with me? Well, talking about experience and knowledge, I've been doing a lot of heavy lifting since early in my career. Deployed during the Kosovo campaign in support of Operation Shining Hope. The buildings came down on 9/11. Shortly after that, I was in support of OEF, and then of course OIF followed, and so on and so forth. And then even moving forward, I was just in support of Operation Inherent Resolve in 2015 and 2016 year. So doing all these things at a very young time in my career, it weighs on you. I've seen a lot, done a lot. Most of my deployments weren't fun. And what's unique about the Air Force is when we talk about deployments, not necessarily all of us kind of dive out there as masses. They provide us with skill sets that they can literally plug and play individuals really anywhere and work with any branch of service. So that's that piece about the Air Force. However, what led me here is one, during those periods of time, observing a lot, being a part of missions that were life or death and more death than life type deal, really took a toll on me. But however, due to the ops tempo and everything else, you're not necessarily understanding what's going on. You're just, when I talk about we're professional suppressors, especially as our scope of responsibility increases while you're wearing the uniform, is that you just continuously suppress because so many people are relying upon you to make decisions, lead them, mentor them, etc. So you kind of forget about yourself because you're constantly taking care of others. All right, cool, I get that. But once you take off the uniform, then the ops tempo stops. And then a lot of those symptoms surface, right? Mm-hmm. But what led me here is on top of all that heavy lifting, apparently, I took a turn for the worse, my health did, and I was diagnosed with pulmonary embolisms. So I had PEs, is what they're called, bilateral PEs. And so what that does is it's a blood clot, so it runs up your legs, shoots through your heart, and then goes like a shotgun effect into your lungs, okay? So the reason why I'm sharing this stuff is, I'll get there. But just basically, I may look fit, right? I didn't even fit. I looked even better as far as physique when I was in the emergency room and I had no blood in my lungs and I had shortness of breath, and they didn't know what was wrong with me because normally folks with this type of condition are a little heavier. Right? They were asking, sometimes after surgeries, you can get blood clots, sometimes after long periods of travel. I had just returned from Baghdad in 2016. And then ironically, today is the day that it actually happened on my son's birthday. So October 21st, 2016 is I almost died. And technically, according to my cancer doctor, I should have died, but it was my fitness at that time that it was fooling the doctors to where they had to give me a CT. And so that was the only way they found out what was going on. But they could easily just sent me home, right? But they didn't. But anyways, so that's what led me into where I'm at today. But however, I'm not necessarily a customer of any real service that provides assistance for disability claims. I, on the other hand, was med boarded out of the service, but I left with 90%. So during that time of being med boarded, I took it upon myself to educate myself and dive into the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 38. There wasn't a lot of information out there that was given to me. I mean, you got a brief, and that was about it. So I was like, you know what? I think I better, start learning and teaching myself some of this stuff because I don't know. So once I found out what I was going to be service connected for, I looked at the numbers and I was like, hey man, I should be 100%, right? Because I've got musculoskeletal ailments, right? My mental health, and then also my pulmonary. So the pulmonary alone, based off the medication I take, should have, been more than enough. But however, then you learn a little bit about the VA, and they consolidated all my pulmonary conditions and then just gave me the 50% for sleep apnea. I'm talking about hypersomnolence, which is severe fatigue, severe sleep apnea, and then of course with my blood clots, I'm literally talking on one lung because both of them collapsed. So they're in the process of rebuilding. So literally I have to use my diaphragm to talk because I will run out of breath in a heartbeat. But anyway, so learning about the VA and those things. So I left with 90%, and then I also learned that how the VA as an umbrella doesn't necessarily talk amongst the compensation side and then the health side. So yeah. So what I learned is that I had just hung up the uniform and dove right into a mental health program. Okay. And speaking of my mental health, I currently have 2 psychologists, 1 psychiatrist, right? I got those kind of issues. Okay, cool. I'm seeking treatment, and I always encourage everybody else to do so as well. But however, I've learned that the VA, under that one umbrella, 2 separate entities, because I had just finished a 12-week cognitive behavioral therapy program, and I was pinged by QTC, which I thought it was a scam. And here's why. When I was med boarded, I was in Germany. I had to fly to DC to that VA to get all my CMPs done. So I've only known this process through the VA. I know nothing else. And so I hadn't filed a claim, but I got pinged for a reevaluation of my mental health. All right. So this is probably, and so I called the VA. I thought it was a scam just to validate that QTC was the real deal. They're like, yes, Mr. Borum, this is the real deal. So I was like, you realize that this condition that I have there's no cure for this. There's stuff that we can manage it, but it doesn't go away, right? And they were like, yep, I get it, but however, you got to go through these things. All right, cool. So, like I said, I have issues. I've got a lot of doctors that got medication, so on and so forth, to help me. I'm currently receiving 100% for my post-traumatic stress disorder that's combat related. So if you know the symptoms or some of them for 100%, it's this guy right here. So, however, moving fast forward, I go to my CMP, and then that's when I was able to, without being coached or anything, I walked in there, but my symptoms came to light. So I was and they caught me on a bad day. So, but I was able to not only talk about the symptoms, right, as far as what my day-to-day was, but I was able to also talk about the impact to those, how my inner circle is impacted, how my coworkers are impacted by me, how my damn supervisor was hating life because he had this senior, big wig out of the Air Force retiree come into this office and try to do, reorganize things. But that wasn't the case, but they took it that way. So my transition was difficult to say the least. But however, my symptoms were surfacing because that ops tempo disappeared.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't necessarily pick up on that. But however, when I was in that office for that compensation attention exam, boom, symptoms came up, impact was expressed, and then I got a bump, and then that led me to eventually speaking with Brian Reese and offer me a position here at VACI. But one of the things that I want to really, really harp on a little bit today is that fitness aspect. So here I am, and I like to use myself as an example on a lot of stuff, right? Because I am mentally broken. I will say that, okay? I have musculoskeletal ailments. I've got service connected for my back, service connected for my knee, and service connected for both feet.
Yeah.
So literally for years, I had been running on severe plantar fasciitis while I was in the service. Years of exercise and running and so on and so forth.
I live with it, so I know the pain,
Yeah,
bro.
absolutely. So I've got the musculoskeletal ailments, the mental health ailments, and then my pulmonary ailments. So I've got not only severe fatigue, sleep apnea, and then basically my lungs are screwed. So with all these ailments, you would think that fitness is just not something that I would, be doing, right? But however, most of us, I mean, fitness is at one time was a way of life for most of us, right? Who served, because there's no getting around it. I know that the Air Force, I know that the Air Force was one that took some time to kind of jump on board to that. But once they did, what do? Quality of life. We built some fancy gyms, and then everybody got in there and started doing stuff. Okay, cool. That's how we roll. But still, we did it, right? So it's programmed into our DNA. And I look at, even though I have all these ailments, but if it wasn't for my fitness, I wouldn't be here speaking with you guys today, right? My PE would have killed me. Boom, dead. But I'm here. So that fitness aspect works for me, okay? Yeah. And so I devote my time to it, even if it's at a limited scale, because I struggle breathing, right? So, but then of course, all my ailments hurt too. So what do? I stretch, right? So I talk to veterans all day, every day, and they discuss how their ailments prevent them from doing certain things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to fitness and mental health, sometimes you can just forget about things. Okay? It's just for 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes to 30 minutes, there'll be a time where you will just be so focused on what you're doing and while promoting a healthy lifestyle at the same time that you have kind of forgotten about some of those ailments that you're experiencing and going through, right? You remember, I've got 3 mental health professionals that are, helping me with my treatment, and I still have to work out to help me cope with some of these things, those unspoken truths, those uncomfortable truths and everything else that surfaces. Fitness is definitely something that I really, really, truly lean on. Now, granted that my workouts would be a lot different than most, primarily because I use weights and so on and so forth. I have a gym that I go to and that I have here at the house. But there are so many different things, because I know what veterans are thinking, right? They're like, Chris, dude, I can't do that. Fitness is just not where I'm at.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that. And ailments are going to prevent us from doing that. But there's even exercises that you can do while sitting down, right? I have to stand, because sitting down for long periods of time doesn't necessarily work for me. I'm standing right now, right? Yeah. But but however, just simple stretching, right? You have ailments that hurt. You have your limited range of motion, right? But eventually, just simple stretching and breathing through your stretches, that is pivotal. You would be amazed at how much you forget when you just stretch and breathe. Why do you think those yoga instructors are so lean and mean, right? They are trimmed, toned, and all they do is stretch, right? They're not doing what I do. They're not lifting weights. They're not in CrossFit or anything like that, right? They're just stretching. Now, along with that,
I want to pop in. I want to pop in here real quick, if you don't mind, because there was some nuggets here that I want to pull out and extract.
Sure.
So one of the things that immediately stood out, and I'm not taking notes, but I'm remembering when he said this, right? When you look at a guy like you, it's easy to kind of go, there's a guy that's got it all together. There's a guy that's, he looks strong. Like he looks very physically able and capable. And yeah, he seems all right mentally, like, And what I wanted to just point out again is to really dispel the notion that you're okay just because you look okay. Okay. So what I want to, here's why I bring that up. I think veterans sometimes, CMB, we hold ourselves back because we start comparing ourselves to others. And we put on that kind of warrior mentality of the yeah buts, right? Yeah, but I'm not so disabled that I'm signing on the side of the road for spare change, right? I'm not homeless, I'm employed. Maybe I'm not that bad, right? We kind of, I do this. We sort of still revert back to that warrior mentality that we're okay and we're fine and we'll push through it and the mission matters more than anything. And we're not fine. We're not okay. And so, look, the point of me bringing that up is you just don't know. You can't just look at a human being or follow them on social media and say, they're good to go. They're fine. They're physically fit. They're mentally stable. That person might be totally broken. And you, as a bumper buddy, somebody who reaches out, who sends a text message, who jumps on a call, who sends an email, who just says, hey, man, just checking in on you. Like wanted to mental health check. How you doing? Let's talk, right? Because I think that my point here is sometimes what you see is not what you get, right? Sometimes the outer can mask the inner, right? Who's ever heard that sometimes the worst wounds are the ones you can't see, right? Well, I can't see inside your brain and you can't see inside of my brain, right? So don't judge the book by its cover. Truth is, we all need some help. And so don't be afraid to be a bumper buddy. Don't be afraid to Google right now, VA mental health facility near me, and pick up that phone and call somebody and get help. Okay. Your life matters.
Absolutely.
We need you here. We talk about suicide here a lot because it's important. Okay. It's important because we have to go right at it. It's an epidemic. It has no place in our world. It has no place in the United States military. It has no place in our families. It's got no place in America. And we got to start getting real about this. And we still ain't there. We're not real about it. We hide. We don't want to ask the hard questions of those around us. And we judge books by their cover every day. We look at a guy like CMB and we go, looks super fit. But look at, he's got a shirt on, legalized lifting. He must be out there deadlifting 500 pounds, right? Says he may not be able to pick up more than 20 pounds. But we judge all the time by what we see.
Sure.
And we're deceived. It's self-deception that what's going on inside of that person might be totally different than the external that they're projecting.
Yeah. And I'll use myself as a personal experience. When I showed up for my compensation pension exam, because we talk about, I kind of went in cold, went in blind.
Yeah.
And I went in there, I had just gotten off work. I was in a shirt and tie, right? Got my Sunday kicks on, got my khakis on. I'm clean shaven, and I walk in there, and I could just tell that they're looking at me like, I don't see it, right? So, but however, regardless of what you look like, if you're not able to articulate the impact to your symptoms at those compensation and pension exams, you'll never get evaluated accordingly how you really should. Stop masking that crap.
Amen. Stop masking. And I'm going to use a personal story. I don't know if I've ever shared this publicly. I'm going to share this publicly. Okay. I had a C&P examiner for mental health who actually wrote in her C&P exam notes, I did some research on this veteran, and he has a company that helps veterans. And I was on his social media accounts, and he appears to be okay.
Okay.
Listen, that is disgusting. And the reason it's disgusting is exactly what I just said. You might be totally broken, but you fake it for the picture with your family.
Sure.
Well, guess what? That ain't really what's going on up here. That's what you saw. I see this guy on camera, right? I see that this guy has a company. I see that this guy is married again after being divorced. Maybe he's actually just fine, right? Look, you cannot judge a book by its cover. You cannot just look at somebody externally and decide that they're okay, because they might not. In fact, that person that you think is okay might be on the brink of suicide.
Sure.
CMB, how often, and you maybe had this happen to you on active duty because of the leadership positions you've had.
Yeah.
How many times on active duty did we essentially get blindsided, or something happened where you're kind of like, man, I thought I didn't see that coming?
Right. Well, I think for the most part, it's very rare that you will see it coming. Right? Yes. And so by being in those roles, you get to, get more of the bad than the good, right? But so you see a lot more in a different, perspective and views than others. But yeah, you never really, you think for the most part, your troubled airmen are those that are more vulnerable to possibly, taking their own lives. But sometimes it's your studs, right? Sometimes it's the hard workers, and you don't realize that they've tapped out because they're on auto. They're robots now. They're cooking. But however, like I said, when that ops tempo comes to a halt and slows down, and those symptoms surface, it is difficult. But yeah, normally did you ever see it coming? And it was always, every time, unfortunate. But if you did see it coming, which it happened, you just refer them to the professional, have them seek help immediately. And as a first sergeant, I'm friggin', yeah, absolutely. Let's just come with me, man. Let's go for a walk and go straight to to the pros.
Wow. So thank you for sharing that. And again, this is the vulnerability that we share here in our community, because we got to get real, right? As men, as women, as leaders, as veterans, as disabled veterans, as military supporters, we got to have these real conversations, right? And we got to stop faking it. And we have to admit we're not okay. take action to get help. It's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. That's something, CMB, that I really struggled with for a long time. It was ingrained in me for a long time that, to be a real leader, you have to look a certain way. You have to act a certain way. You have to, keep things close to the vest a certain way. You have to show that you're strong and that you're okay and that,
Yeah.
you're the one in control and charge and that you're taking care of their troops. And I realized that's actually completely wrong. Like, it's
Correct.
okay to just, whoever you are, I don't care
Mm-hmm.
what your rank is. I don't care what your position is at a company, okay? I don't care how popular you are. I want to know how real you are.
Yeah.
I want to know how human you're going to be. I want to know how
Correct.
vulnerable you're going to be. And the funny thing is, the more vulnerable you can be, the more trust you build, and the more influence you have. But yet we
Correct.
screw it every single day.
Yeah.
Right?
And especially in those leadership type of roles, right? Because you don't want to show any type of weakness whatsoever. Or if you're part of a large unit, you always want to be together, that band of brothers mindset. And that's where we end up becoming those professional suppressors, because we don't know how to become vulnerable because we've been holding it in for so long. And then here we are, fast forward again, when that ops tempo comes, you hang up that uniform, life gets different, and then you're still trying to suppress, but having a lot more difficulty doing it.
Yeah.
And then so when you come to us, myself and all the other veteran coaches that are out there, we tell you, man, from the beginning, those uncomfortable truths, you have to talk about your symptoms. You have to talk about not only the symptoms, but the impact to your symptoms. Because if you don't, you're not going to be evaluated accordingly.
No.
But it is hard for most to do that because we don't know how. It's not that we don't want to, we don't know how. And then that's when you open up some dialogue, you start to probe a few questions. So how's life for you? How are you doing here and or there? Work, home, what's that look like? And then, okay, and then just go up with some follow-up questions. And then all of a sudden, you've already told me some of those uncomfortable truths, right?
Yeah.
So just having a normal conversation. So, but yeah, it's amazing what we do as a company overall. But with regards to the fitness aspect of it, man, don't forget about the eating portion. Okay, so let's just say you have ailments that just, Chris, I'm sorry, man, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just lazy. All right, it is what it is. All right, let's be real about this. All right, cool. All right, Mr. Lazy, Mrs. Lazy, cool, no problems. But don't forget, you gotta be careful, because if you're not being active, right? If you're not being active and you're sitting down and you're just eating, there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, but it's what you're eating, right? So having a clean diet is a form of fitness, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's a healthy lifestyle. I don't do much as far as activity, but I eat right, and that clean eating, I'm just talking about more greens than anything, at a minimum. But ideally, because here's what happens. Yes, you were lean and mean at one time in the service, primarily because of fitness, right? Remember that. Fitness kept you lean, but now you can't. All right, cool. But here's what happens when you add that extra 100 pounds that you just took on because you haven't been active, is additional ailments along the way, right?
Sure.
Whether it be high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, sleep apnea. Those are the things that are going to more likely happen because you have taken on all that additional weight. So, like I said, if at a minimum you can go for a walk, if you can walk from your living room, from the couch to the kitchen, that's being active, right? You don't have to go for a mile or any of that. You just try to stay active.
CMB, this is huge. Okay, and again, there's more nuggets here we need to extract, and when we need to share more personal stories. The title of today might have kind of confused you, right? Of like the benefits of fitness for mental health, right? And so you're sort of coming in here thinking like, oh man, we're going to be doing kettlebell workouts and butter kicks, and I saw this Marine Corps dude who's doing a pull up with his leg off to the side, like Marine kick. Those are the things that like it's sexy, right? That's what's in right now is the pump workouts, the circuit fit, the CrossFits, the F45s, the men's health, all of that. That's what's sexy. That's what sells. Okay. But again, let's get freaking real for a minute. We're not here to be fake. We're here to be real. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Disabled veterans might have all they can do to get out and do a brisk walk. A disabled veteran might have all they can do to leave their house for the day. A disabled veteran might have all they can do to sit and breathe for 10 minutes, right? We've got to dispel this notion, CMB, that fitness means powerlifting. Fitness means CrossFit. I got to join a club and kill myself every day, right? It doesn't.
No.
I'm going to use myself as an example real fast, and then I want to hear more strategies on how you can get and be fit, CMB, if you're a disabled veteran with physical and mental conditions. I'm going to use myself again as an example. When I was active duty, I loved to run. And I ran fast and hard. I mean, my goals, and there were times where I could rip off a 5K in under 20 minutes, right? I mean, decent clip. Not professional clip, but pretty good clip.
Yeah, that's good.
I weighed 175 pounds and, was 22, 23, 24 years old, didn't have significant mental health issues yet, and didn't have severe and physical impairments yet. Okay. Well, guess what? My new reality is I'm overweight for sure. BMI is close to 30. And severe plantar fasciitis bilaterally in both feet. I'm not planning to do surgery, but it could be in the cards at some point. I can't run anymore, right? I can't. The shoulder injuries, I can't lift heavy weights anymore. But as CMB said, don't let what you can't do prevent you from what you can do. And you define what fitness means for you. Two things. I did this to our leadership team this morning, CMB. We have a daily call. I go, look, I got two things for you today. I'm going to hit you with one thing, right? So, but this is, we're not an affiliate partner with this company. I'm not promoting this app. I'm simply sharing a resource that I use. Okay. I have a app on my phone called Calm, CALM. It's just the one that I use. Okay. I pay for the premium upgrade so that I get extra features. It's a mindfulness app. It's fitness for my brain. I got an anger issue, pretty severe anger issue. Okay. The mindfulness last night at 9 p.m., I kissed my wife and told her, hey babe, I'll be in a minute. I need to wind down here. I'm not ready for bed. I need to do a mindfulness. I literally took out my phone. I opened up the Calm app. I did a 10-minute calming severe anxiety. And I sat on a cushion on the floor in the living room. The kids were in bed. My wife is in bed. And I sat on the floor on a cushion and I went through the 10-minute guided mindfulness meditation. And I just tried to focus on breathing. Tried to focus on literally trying to recenter. And the concept of mindfulness is that you really don't think about anything. You just breathe and you let thoughts and things come naturally and you acknowledge and recognize and then you let it go, right? And that's literally what I did for 10 minutes before bed just to try to recenter. I woke up this morning Do you think I'm out there powerlifting? No, because I don't have one power lift, nor could I lift them anyway. Okay? I'm lucky if I can take our dog for a walk in the morning, do a quick loop around our neighborhood. It gets me outside. Part of the reason why I have a dog. Forces me to go outside. Otherwise, I wouldn't leave my house. Okay? But a dog that forces me to get outside and go for a walk. What did I do afterwards? I actually went out on our patio. I pulled up YouTube on my phone. I typed yoga, and I did a 30-minute stretching, sitting, kneeling, a little bit of bridging, a little bit of lunging, working on my Warrior 2. I'll let you, it ain't very good, but working on my Warrior 2. Okay.
Very familiar with it.
Yeah. Now, as an active duty troop, when I'm ripping off a 5K under 20 minutes, do you think I would have gone and done yoga? You best check yourself. I ain't doing yoga. Are you kidding me? No way. I'm a tough leader. I'm in with my troops. We're powerlifting. I'm working on this 10-pack ab. No, that just wasn't what we did. I have had to personally redefine fitness and what mental fitness means, which for me is mindfulness, and what physical fitness means, which for me right now is yoga if I'm lucky. Okay. And so CMB, again, I want to get real with you. I mean, you even just talked about this basic idea of if you're able to do some stretching. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Simple stretching. Right, because most people have a lot of musculoskeletal type of ailments that prevent them from, based off their range of motion, their mobility sucks, to where they're going to avoid anything that has to do with any type of weightlifting. They don't want any additional weight that, they want to pick up on top of the additional 100 pounds that they've already got on, right? Yeah. So the stretching aspect of it is huge. But again, you talk about strategies. The mental fitness of calm is fantastic. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that too is an app that I use, and I would recommend it for anybody that are just having some issues mentally, and that's for the most part all of us in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, so the Calm app is another strategy to use if you can't physically do something. But however, the stretching aspect of it, that you can. It doesn't have to be, downward dog. It doesn't have to be, any of these other yoga type style movements. But literally, if you condition your body by doing it every day, and that's the key. Not only is the stretching aspect of part of a daily routine, you just got to fit it in some way. Because I tell you what, if you're watching us live now, you have the time. You know what I'm saying? So literally, you could be in your home watching or listening and stretching. That is a form of, just releasing endorphins. But again, I also go back to that clean eating piece, and I'm gonna admit, I do not eat clean at all. I'm a terrible eater. I'm a garbage disposal for the most part. I look at, but but literally, I'll try to stay as active as possible, not only to rehabilitate my internal organs, but just to try to, be able to where I can eat the way I do. But that's not for everybody, and I get that. So, but however, what will help is that clean eating aspect. That is probably one of the most important things to help, and it all does tie to mental health, right? Because obviously, the more, let's say weight that you put on, the more depressed, because you don't necessarily like your physique, because you didn't look like this before, right? So you're going to start feeling these symptoms, and that you're not happy with yourself. And it's just going to weigh on you, depression and so on and so forth. Those things are going to start to come to surface. So, but if you're unable to walk, take a walk at a minimum down the road to walk your dog or whatever that looks like. All right, cool. I get that. But at a minimum, try to, pull back on the intake and the type of food that you're actually eating, with regards to it will promote a healthy lifestyle. And then eventually, you may not lose all the weight, right? Because you're not active, but you will start to see improvement.
Yeah.
Right? And then that improvement will in turn come up here and affect that area as well. So those
See,
are
I just thought of something. Like I don't know if it's like a God thing, but something just came upon me. This is something we didn't talk about at all, right? This is unplanned.
okay.
I'm just really curious. So for everyone who's listening to us right now, okay, you're on live. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, okay, if you make it to this point in today's training, I want you to scroll down to the comment section. I have an idea. Okay. Maybe it's the same type of idea that struck me when it was time to found VA Claims Insider. I don't know. The comment here is, on this call today, we've redefined fitness for the disabled veteran. We just talked about it. We redefined what fitness means for the disabled veteran with physical and mental ailments.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean powerlifting. It doesn't mean Olympic lifting. It doesn't mean CrossFit. It doesn't mean going out and ripping off a 5K in under 20 minutes, Brian. No, that isn't what it means.
Right.
We redefine fitness in terms of this, our mental health, and in terms of physical fitness to include our diet. I've actually never heard somebody say they see fitness as a form, or excuse me, their diet as a form of fitness. I'd never heard that.
Healthy lifestyle. Absolutely.
It's part of the healthy lifestyle. So here's what I'm asking. You're hearing my voice right now. We're live. Okay, this is unplanned. Would you be interested in being part in our community, okay, VA Claims Insider community, in having us bring on some experts, having us bring on some folks who can help us with guided mindfulness meditations, yoga for mental health, breathing exercises, stretching. Maybe it even turns into things like meal planning and assistance with a healthy diet. Because CMB, look, I'm a garbage disposal too.
Yeah. And
my issue is I've got a bad habit of being a night eater. I'm a grazer, right? If you think of like the path in the field, you know, I'm kind of a grazer around my kitchen. And if it's out, I'll eat it. If it's easy, I'll grab it. If it's right next to me, like the cookies, the ice cream, Oreo cookies, I mean, goodness, you want to find your way in with Brian Reese, bring me some ice cream, right? That's it, right? I mean, you want to find your way to my heart, bring me some ice cream. Look at the yeses.
Yeah, there's definitely.
Again, we're on live right now. This is unplanned. It struck me as we're talking about this, redefining fitness for the disabled veteran. We ain't talking about powerlifting. We're not talking about being these big, bad, people you see on TV and these infomercials about, the dude that loses 90 pounds and now has ripped abs. That ain't going to be me. Okay.
Right.
Are you interested, yes or no, in being a part of our community where we maybe hire and bring on some experts, whether it's psychologists, psychiatrists, people who can lead us through guided group and individual mindfulness therapy, meditation, breathing exercises. And it might even just be enough. Thank you, Norm. Yes, I see a ton of yeses. Oh, my goodness. Look at the mental health needs. Thank you, George. Be vulnerable. Thank you, Kevin, for saying yes. Oh, my. I mean, dude, by the way, this is how the elite program started. For anybody who doesn't know, okay, again, this is unplanned. We're just rolling. It just hit me like God just said, dude, say this. Okay, think about this. The VA Claims Insider Elite program started just like this. We had a small community in the summer of 2017. And CMB, I literally went into the Facebook mastermind, which, by the way, look at all the yeses. This is insane. Yes, mental health, yes. Which, by the way, Albert, yep, I'm in. Say yes if you want this. If not, say no, right? I see a ton of yeses. So I go into the mastermind group in June of 2017. And I literally went, I don't know if I should post this or not. This will be interesting. And I literally said, hey, insiders, now that we have a mastermind that's more of a done, by you get a little bit of help and support. Is anybody here interested if we were able to create a program that was really a done with you, where an expert would help lead you on your disability journey, right? Would that interest you if we were to have a program like that? We're looking for some beta members. Please comment yes below in the Facebook mastermind if this sounds interesting to you, or if it's something that you want and need. And I'll never forget this. I'm sitting in the kitchen in Cibolo, Texas. I was working as a Department of the Air Force civil servant at JBSA Randolph in San Antonio. Cibolo is one of the little suburbs there in the Northeast. And I hit post, and I'm not kidding you, within 30 minutes, yes, went straight to the top of the page. There were over 500 yeses. I had to stop the commenting on the post. Many of our current teammates, CMB, among those troops who said yes. Terrell Morrell, our director of education and training, was one of the first people to say yes. He became one of our first elite clients ever. He worked with our first ever veteran coach. He started at nothing after finding us from an Instagram ad. And he's like, what do I have to lose? Like, I don't know who this guy is. I never heard of him, but I might as well try it. Right. That was me. He comes in, he works with our first ever coach, Rick. And after a long struggle and a battle, he got himself to 100% PNT. He's now our director of education and training. He's leading a boot camp training cohort right now. For our new teammates. Just an amazing dude. But that's how this started. That's how Elite launched, with exactly what I just did. And I think if you see, that's what just happened. Is like, there's definitely a demand. Right? We need veterans. Dude, we need to be around each other. We need to be real to say, I'm going to be accountable to you, Chris. Chris is going to be accountable to you, Brian, that tomorrow at 10 a.m., we're showing up on a live call and we're going to spend 30 minutes breathing. We're going to spend 30 minutes stretching. We're going to spend 30 minutes being real. Hey, life sucks for me right now. I'm too depressed to get out of bed. I'm an alcoholic, right? My marriage is crumbling, right? Like, I don't know what to do. Let's digress. Let's digress. Let's do some breathing. Let's do some stretching. Go for a fucking walk. Do what you got to do. Just like we talked about, right? Human beings were not meant to be alone. No. Think about this, right? And I'm not going to talk about religion on here today. I don't care what your religion is. All right? What I want to talk about, though, is human beings, us, Chris, Brian, Mike, Steve, Larry, Mindy, Sally, Peggy, whatever your name is, right? I've seen a whole bunch of people jumping in. We weren't meant to be alone. Human beings were not created. We didn't get here to this point in history by being alone. We did it with other people. We are meant to be around other human beings together in community. That's how we got here. That's how we're speaking right now on this phone. Human beings won, right? The human race won. We started off as hunter-gatherers. We grabbed what we could. We moved. We followed this little pack mentality. Hey, then we started to figure out, you know what? Maybe we could actually do more if we specialized. Like, hey, Chris, maybe, since you are good at this, maybe you should go hunt and we'll take care of the kids, right? And then it started this idea of specialization. And then we went from hunter-gatherer to specialization to maybe we should specialize in groups, in teams, in communities, because you know what? I think we could actually accomplish more together. And that's what happened. That's so all of a sudden you have these communities that almost formed into little cities. And that led to the agricultural revolution, which you could debate whether that's been good or not. Okay. But those things happened because we didn't do this alone. We did it together. We did it with the idea that Brian is worse off alone in his house by himself than he is when he's around Chris and with Chris and learning from Chris and sharing with Chris and stretching with Chris and breathing with Chris and other vets. Okay, so thank you for letting me go on like this little thing in real time. Though it hit me. We have to redefine fitness. We just did on this call. Thank you, CMB.
Absolutely.
And we got to get real that, all right, maybe we ain't getting together to lift 80-pound kettlebells over our head because I can't lift my arms past shoulder length.
Yep.
Say yes.
Yeah. And that definitely the demand is there. And then speaking of, tying yourself with like-minded individuals, right? So that's the key, that community base, right? So for instance, here in Arizona, teamed up with some other local organizations that are veteran-owned, veteran-friendly, et cetera, but that promote a healthy lifestyle in some way, shape, or form. Justin Cross, who's a Navy veteran with Earn Your Booze, he's got that organization out there. You've got Jeff Mahaffey, who's the owner of Self-Made Training Facility here in Arizona. Then you got Christopher Phillips, who's Army, and Quality Resilience Fitness. And what they do is promote suicide awareness amongst veterans and active duty. So, just the communities are important. And for us to come up with a plan and idea to implement something like this is fantastic.
It's so cool, man. Thank you,
yeah.
Fellow vets. And again, this isn't my idea. This was our idea. This was CMB, Chris, saying, we've really never talked about fitness in the way that fitness works for me. So we do this live, right? None of this was planned, okay?
Nope.
And just from rolling, you start to put the connection together of like, wait a minute, maybe there's something here that I need.
Sure.
And that just led again to what I know we're going to do in our VACI coaching calendar. When you become an elite member, okay, we are going to start hiring and bringing on experts on that coaching calendar to fill up our lives with other veterans, community. And it's going to be filled with things that you want and need to move your life forward. It could be mental health classes. It could be yoga for mental health. Heck, we could even do marriage counseling. We could do living with a military member with PTSD, with a family practice, like how to live with a disabled veteran with a mental health condition. Hey, when dad starts to do this, when mom starts to act like this, as a child, recognizing the things, the triggers, the signs, the symptoms, and then being able to deal with the strategies. We can talk about how to live right, right? We
Yeah,
can do a class on spirituality.
sure.
This
That'd be
is the
fantastic.
community we are creating. That is what our movement can do with a platform of veterans helping veterans worldwide. It's time. It's time that we step out and build this for us, right?
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
disabled veterans in community. Thank you,
Yeah.
B. Thank you for sparking the idea.
Hey, I'm glad it worked out. No, but I see this, really taking off as well, man. So I'm glad we have the platform to perform and provide that type of service. That'd be fantastic for these guys, and for internally as well, because I'll take it. Shit.
Dude, before I said anything, I was also thinking from the standpoint of I need this,
Yeah.
right? Like, I need this.
Yeah.
I need to be accountable for my health and my fitness and my mental health. Again, I'm going to be vulnerable again with you all. I had a virtual video appointment yesterday with my VA psychologist. And I just told him flat out toward the end of our call, I said, I'm such an angry person. I said,
Mm-hmm.
I can just lash out and it can happen like this. Like 0 to 1,000 in a split second. Something can just set me off. The way somebody looks at me, the way somebody drives or honks next to me, something my wife says, a facial expression, a noise, screaming, it can just ignite the rage.
Yeah.
I said, I think I need anger management. I'm like, do y'all have something like that? And who knows if I'll get a call back. But the point is, if VA Claims Insider had an anger management class, guess who's going to be there?
Right. I'd be interested to see about that too, man. I mean, I'll take clearly. I'm not opposed to help, to treatment. But I will say that once I spoke with my family about those issues, be very open if you're in that situation. If it's just your significant other, or whatever that looks like, if you're in any type of relationship, but if you, along with the children, once I had that conversation with them, that really paved the way to have me go seek more treatment and so on and so forth. So, sometimes it just starts with a simple conversation, but you got to have it.
Can I ask, and I know we're a little bit over, and by the way, fellow vets and even CMB, we'll try not to go too long. Thank you for still being here with us. It means everything in the world to be able to serve you together. Can I just ask real fast before we take a couple questions? What did that conversation look like with your family? Can you talk about like what you did? Because it's not a conversation I've had with my family. Our kids are Dylan, our son Dylan is 7, and our daughter Everly is 6. And I got married to Laurel last September. So we're a blended family, right? Dylan is my biological, Everly's not my biological, but I'm essentially her dad, right? Help me. How do I have that conversation with my family?
Yeah. So for me, so it's a huge leap, and I started to recognize how my family was separating from me. Right? They were getting further and further from me, and I didn't really. And it may be because I did hang up the uniform, the ops tempo, and all that stuff kind of just came to a halt, and I would start to, analyze my surroundings a little bit better at home. And then once my family started to peel back from me, then I knew that, okay, it's an education thing. I have to educate them on why I am who I am. They look at it as Dad had a rough go in his last deployment.
Mm.
But it wasn't just that, it was years of having those bad deployments, right? But they never really got a taste of it other than this last one that kind of did me in. But so once I started to recognize it, and that's one thing that most veterans that I speak with on the phone will immediately pick. They know that their family is starting to pull back and further away from them. But how do you reel them back in? Is ideally just talking with them. So I started with my wife, and said, because she's active duty. She's 13-year Air Force veteran herself. So she knows for the most part what goes on even behind the scenes. So, but I never had that conversation even with her. And so when you talk about, just significant others or dependent spouses living with somebody with these type of conditions, you would think that, well, she spent 13 years in the service, she should know somewhat, but that was just assuming. But until I shared my story as to why do I, constantly seek help here and there? Why am I the way I am? That really just helped tremendously. And then it was that, initial conversation, because I think for the most part, what people are afraid of is the feedback that you're going to get. So the feedback that you're possibly thinking that you're going to get is they're not going to understand, they're going to be defensive, or, we're going to have an argument about something not even worse. Yeah, right. Exactly. You don't want to you're thinking that you're going to make things worse, but ideally, timing is everything. It's almost like playing jump rope, right? You're ready to get in there, and then all of a sudden, you got to find that conversation, that moment in time to where you got their ear. And once you have their ear, and then all of a sudden, you will see this barrier just lift. It'll come up. So then all of a sudden, you're connecting once again. And so once I connected with my wife, then I was like, I'm going to talk with everybody. So just call the family meeting. Again, timing is everything, even with children, because depending on the ages, right? So some may understand, and you have to kind of speak to that level to where, keep it in layman's terms. But if they're a little older in season, like my kids are teenagers, so they clearly understand what the heck's going on, when you're able to share your story. So, I mean, I went into detail. Stressor detail, right? So, I just dove deep, man, but I had to, in order for them to understand, and not necessarily accept who I am, but and I don't want them walking on eggshells either, right? So that's another thing too. So, but however, by communicating with the family it's a timing thing for sure. You just definitely don't want to boil over. You don't want it to be that moment, right? When it's just, when, the earth is shaking, the windows have busted out, and now you're over here trying to share what's wrong with you. No, don't do it at that moment, but try not to let it get to that moment either.
Do you think that it helped?
Absolutely. For me, it's not necessarily for everybody. I get that, but I think because I was so open with them, they just appreciated it more than anything. But that's not going to be everybody, because some people are who they are. They're just, what may work for some may not work for others. But if we're able to help just that one person connect with their family, by all means, man, that'd be great. But some will get defensive. You can't necessarily say, well, it worked for Chris if I did this, but no, it's not going to work. You should know your family members as best you can. You know them, and what they're able to take and what they're not.
Hearing you speak, I know a course I need to attend. How to talk to your family about mental health.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up course is mental health strategies for families, and dealing with mental health issues of a family member who might have a mental health condition, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder or severe depression or anxiety, insomnia, right? I don't think I've met a veteran who doesn't suffer from insomnia.
Sure.
Like, I don't think I've ever met a veteran who's like, I sleep great, man. 8 hours a night, no problem. No problem falling asleep. Or, I fall asleep easily. I don't wake up in the middle of the night. I wake up every morning feeling like $1,000,000, right? Maybe it's just because I haven't heard from you yet. But I don't think I've met a veteran who doesn't suffer from insomnia. Anyway.
Yeah.
Look, CMB. I know we're over, and I appreciate everybody's time so far. This has been epic. Thank you all, and thank you, CMB, for being here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
A couple questions, maybe 2-3 questions. You can ask us anything you want. Okay, you could ask, Brian, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? If you were thinking about bringing some over, that's cool.
Cake batter, cold stone.
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, thanks for the question, Angie. A good name, by the way. It's my wife's name.
Hey.
No, but so you're right. So I don't know why that is, but however, I would definitely say that what would help. You just want to be yourself, right? Because you can smile through still talking about the symptoms and how they're impacting you. But sometimes appearances are what they are, right? I'm a guy who likes to smile a lot. I'm a little easy on the eyes, so
depends who
right. No, but seriously, it is one of those things where, I think primarily it's in our culture to judge based off appearances initially, but
look at our country.
Even medical providers, right? Even medical professionals will still look at you. Like I said, I went into my CNP exam with a shirt and tie, clean shaven, with my Sunday shoes on and my khakis, my Dockers, and walked in there, and I knew immediately how they viewed me. But however, once the symptoms surface, you start speaking the impact of your symptoms and how they're affecting you and your family members. And your inner circle, coworkers, it doesn't matter. But if you're able to, describe and demonstrate your ailments, symptoms and then related to the impact, it doesn't matter how much you smile.
It doesn't. Angie, thanks for that question. Real quick, before we flash the next question, I want to talk to this just for a second. And I actually think that that's part of the problem in the medical system that helps and serves veterans. Okay. I think it's a huge problem with the compensation and pension exam system that serves veterans. And here's why I think that. It's almost like a version or a variation of exposure syndrome. And what I mean by that is the more you're exposed to the same type of thing day in and day out, the same story replicated over and over and over again, told to you by a different person, the less sympathetic you become, the less empathetic you actually become, because you're bombarded with this every single day, right? Oh, here comes another veteran with a mental health issue. What am I going to hear this time, right? Oh, I just finished another exam, and that veteran told me about their combat trauma in Iraq, and here comes one that's going to say they were in war and tell me about the bombs coming in, right? And you're exposed to the same or similar verbiage, terminology, symptoms, issues over time. You become less sympathetic and empathetic to that over and over and over and over again. You've got some of these CNP examiners who've done thousands of these exams.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you do, though, is you take your past experience and then you project that onto the future people that are coming in. That's just what we do. It's biologically ingrained. It helps us try to make sense of the world. It happens every single day. Raise your hand, comment yes, if you've ever had a CNP examiner who from the moment you walked in the room, that this person judged you. This person was looking at you as, oh, here comes another lying, cheating, scamming veteran, trying to milk the system. Okay. Let's be real for a minute. It happens every day and it's wrong. Okay. If you look at the data, if you look at the studies, veterans are telling the truth. In fact, on top of that, veterans don't even know how to tell their truth. I believe, CMB, it is the job of the compensation and pension examiner to look past any appearance and to look inside the best they can, and through powerful questioning and empathy and sympathy to extract the real story.
Yeah. And that's hard to do.
It doesn't happen. Instead,
no.
Preconceived notion is exposure syndrome. Oh, here comes another disabled veteran ready to tell me how bad their life is and ready to come in here not shaven and they haven't taken a bath in a week. And here comes another disabled veteran that's going to tell me they're unemployed and life's terrible and they've got anger issues. It's shameful.
Oh, yeah.
Shameful. And it's got to stop.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. I mean, just look at the first sergeants of the world, right? There's one here. Just taking it back there, we were so used to getting just, the woe is me, right? Type of issues at times. It was more of that than the real, severe type of issues that were going on. But then you become immune to it. And then you stop becoming that empathetic, sympathetic individual. But yes, for health professionals, that's different. They should be expecting for the veteran to come in to speak to their uncomfortable truths, not to just look down upon it in any way, shape, or form. But it got some stories because you got to remember.
What I see, man, is the C&P examiner has decided that no, they're actually a lawyer, right? And they're going to be judge and jury. In fact, in the legal case of you getting your disability benefits, they've decided they're the gatekeeper for benefits. Okay. And let me help you out. Okay. Let me help you out. Stay in your lane. Stay in your swim lane, okay? Brian Reese ain't a doctor. You ain't going to see me treat a veteran. Brian Reese isn't a lawyer. You're not going to see me ever say I am. You're not going to see me represent anybody with a power of attorney. You ain't going to see me in a courtroom, okay? I'm not a lawyer. Stay in your lane. If you are a C&P examiner, you are a certified, trained, educated, I hope, medical professional. Your job is to be there for the veteran, to conduct a legal, moral, ethical, adequate, credible examination based upon the evidence of record and based upon your examination. And if you can't do that, hang it up, retire, quit. Because you ain't no to the U.S. military veteran.
Correct.
Pretty simple, right? All right. So it sounds, look, this was so awesome. CMB, I really had a great time jamming with you, man. It's really good.
Absolutely, brother.
And, I really appreciate everything. And there's something here, vets. I mean, this felt a little spiritual today, right? I didn't mean to be on my soapbox, but sometimes I just get going and I get so excited that I can't hold it back. And so
all good.
I think there's some real goodness here and some exciting stuff to come about where the movement's going and how we can best serve the unique needs of the veteran community. How do we know how to serve the unique needs of the veteran community? Because we are veterans, number one, and number two, because we have you. Yep. We ask you, now what do you need? Hey, we're helping you on your VA disability claim journey. What else do you need? Well, Brian, I really need help with my finances and wealth management and planning because I'm in debt. Hey, Brian. Hey, Chris. Hey, VACI. I actually really need help with my mental health. Do you have providers who can help? Speaking of that, I'm going to share one last nugget before we go. Okay. Cool. We are going to very soon have the capability through another entity to provide recurring mental health care and mental health therapy for veterans. Okay, using telemedicine, HIPAA compliant telemedicine technology. So not just the one and done, real actual therapy with providers who care. Okay, that's coming very soon. That's just a little teaser. And I need that, so I'm signing up. Okay.
Nice.
The reason that is so important, and this is something, CMB, that nobody wants to talk about. The only thing you hear the VA talk about and our elected officials talk about is more mental health care for veterans. We need more and better access to mental health care. We need more and better ways for veterans to get mental health care. Okay, well, that's great. You need access. Nobody is talking about continuity of medical services. And I'm going to share for a second why I think that is important, especially when it comes to mental health and trauma. The VHA, the Veterans Health Administration, that's the treatment organization, that's the healthcare side of the VA. Their problem, they can't retain their staff. I want you to think about this. I've been in mental health therapy at the VA since I left the service in 2012. Had mental health care at the Boston VA in Massachusetts. I had mental health care at the San Antonio VA at Audie Murphy and the Frank Tejada. I have mental health care here at the VA clinics in Austin, VA outpatient clinics. Do you want to know how many psychologists I've had in the last year? You want to know how many times I've had to retell my story every time the revolving door of the psychology and psychiatry departments come in? Yeah. Too many times. Why do you think veterans don't trust the VA?
Sure.
Why do you think veterans don't trust their provider? Okay, CMB, if you're a survivor of military sexual trauma, how many times do you want to tell your story?
Time and time again, right?
Yeah.
And you hate it. It gets worse every time.
You never want to tell it. You don't even want to tell it the first time.
Nope.
But then you reach out and you need another appointment with your VHA mental health provider and you find out, oh, that psychologist is actually gone. They quit. And so then there's a new one.
Time and time again.
I can count on this hand, okay, the number of psychologists and the number of psychiatrists that I have had assigned to my case in the past year. There's no continuity of care. It's a revolving door, and I'm sick of telling my story. I just want therapy. I just want care. I want some continuity to know I'm not going to get a different psych every time.
Yeah.
Again, that's something that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody is talking about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and it's not a one size fits all, right? It's not at all. I've gone through several It was like, nope, I want to try, Johnny or Sally, man, because this individual isn't working. Not for me.
It's a relationship, right? It's almost like, as a veteran, you're not going to trust sharing your vulnerabilities until you're able to build trust with somebody that you can build a trusting relationship with. And if you get the sense that, this relationship ain't going anywhere, you're probably not going to want to go on a second date. Right?
Sure.
It's if you've ever been on a bad date, the feeling like, oh, this is good. I just want to pay the check and get out of here. And there ain't going to be another date. You go your separate ways. Guess what? You can fire your psychologist. You can fire your psychiatrist.
Yep.
Find somebody who works for you. Okay. This was awesome, man. Really, really good. Thank you. Appreciate the extra time. Fellow vets, again, if you're still jamming with us, I still see a ton of people on live. Thank you very much. It's such a blessing to serve you. And we've got some new and exciting stuff coming very soon. Yeah. All right, y'all. We really appreciate everything. To our teammates in the background, thank you. Teammates helping out, Eric the Bearded Vet, Mary, everybody on the marketing team, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, CMB.
Okay.